Yep.
Hi everybody, this is Andrea and this is Seth. We're back for our fit tip number 3 this week as part of our Burn It to Earn It series. And we're talking about how to read a food label and a little bit about yogurts and kind of what to look for and the differences on a food label. So the first thing we want to look at is your serving size per container. So especially with yogurt, if you have a yogurt that comes in the larger containers, how many servings are actually in there? If it's 6, make sure you're not consuming 3 servings, for example. The next thing you want to look at, and this is circled down here, but you want to take a look at your protein content, the grams of protein, also the grams of fat, and then your total carbohydrates.
So with the carbs, kind of what you're looking for is you'll see a total carbohydrates. So the one on the right over here, for instance, shows 46 grams of carbs, but then what you also want to take into consideration are the sugars that are in there. So this one shows 44 grams of sugars. And so what that tells you is that there are 44 grams of sugars that are more of your simple sugars, your processed sugars, and you want to look at the comparison of the carbs versus the fibers, which are going to be more of your complex, your low glycemic index carbs. So that's a big one to look for, is kind of the ratio of those two. And the lower that ratio is of the sugars compared to the total carbohydrates, the better it's going to be as far as nutritional value to your body. So.
Right. And our focus a lot, especially kind of doing what we're doing and exercising and wanting to maintain lean muscle mass, is almost the more protein the better, you would say, in whatever you're consuming. So that's the key, is make sure, try to find something with some protein in it. Obviously your yogurt's going to have some, but you can see the difference here. So this one on what would be your left is the plain yogurt and then the fruit yogurt. So this would be, let's say, just plain, not even vanilla, just plain yogurt. This would be your strawberry flavored yogurt. And even though it's fruit, it's not really fruit. It's kind of fake fruit, more flavoring. So you can see down here, this plain yogurt has 13 grams of protein, whereas your fruit yogurt over here only has 9. So already we know that this is the better option. But then also looking at your carbohydrates, is your plain only has 15 grams and 10 grams of sugars. So not too bad actually, because a dairy product's going to have some sugars anyway. But if you look over here at the fruit yogurt, you're at 46 grams of carbohydrate and 44 of sugars. So almost all of that carbohydrate is coming from very simple sugars. Now, in the last video, we talked about our post-workout. This might be okay for a post-workout nutrition piece, but this one would be all right too. You could throw some peanut butter in with your plain yogurt. That's what I really like to do. Maybe some honey even. So for some kind of a better sugar, you could say. Now with yogurt, because it's kind of a bad offender, and this label isn't probably the best label for this, but you can see on here that this has 0 grams of fat, but the sugars are also low. Typically what you'll see is that the ones that are higher in sugar have less fat. So they'll say that's a low-fat yogurt, for example. So everybody kind of traditionally picks the low fat. But if they take fat out of the yogurt, the fat is what gives it flavor. So then they have to replace it with all of these sugars. So it would be better to consume the one that has less sugars, but maybe a couple grams of fat, because your body knows what to do with that type of fat, whereas these sugars are probably going to turn to fat in your body anyway. The same would go for milk, where probably 2% would be the better option compared to skim milk, just because skim milk does have the higher fat or higher sugar content because of the fat is taken out of it. So it'd be better to consume a little bit more of that natural fat compared to a lot of fake sugars. So there's your fit tip number 3, and we'll be back next week for the next one.